Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for turning on your cameras. It's great to see everybody. Um, we just had the first snowstorm of the season here in Virginia. It's kind of nice, except I'm all sore now because I was shoveling snow like crazy. Anyways, tonight I'm Ben, by the way. I'll be teaching the class. We're going to be doing a couple logic games. How many people here have never been to an LSAT Demon class before? Maybe raise your hand. Holy cow. Okay, so a lot of you, welcome. Hopefully we can give you a good impression for the demon. In any case, I've been teaching the LSAT for like, I don't know, I kind of lost count, maybe 12, 13 years at this point. Actually, whoa, maybe it's 14. Anyways, it's all I do. It's just, I think it's kind of fun. So if you're hating it right now, I promise you, you won't necessarily hate it for the rest of your, time studying it. You may actually come to love it. We also, in addition to, I'll be teaching the class, but we got Kevin and Abigail, I think. Yes, I saw you, Abigail. They'll be monitoring the chat, and sometimes their answers to your questions are better than mine. So hit them up. Also, Demon students are amazing, and they have lots of good advice as well, which they're willing to throw in there. Okay, in any case, before we get started, what should I tell you? I guess if you're new to the LSAT, or even if you're not new to the LSAT, the games is a section that almost everyone can master. It may take a lot more work than you're hoping or expecting, but it is a section that if you're aggressive with it, right? You don't let it boss you around, you boss it around. You're going to say, okay, it's a puzzle. I can solve puzzles, and just go in there with the right mentality and attack the game. And I'll try to show you that tonight with the first game that we do. You can really divide and conquer the rules that they're throwing at you and turn what can seem like a very challenging game into a simple game. As is true for all sections on the test, I tend to find myself taking a lot more time in the beginning of the question. We're doing games tonight, so I tend to take a lot more time in setting up the game than most people do. But then once the setup is solid, once I know what's going on and I understand the rules and I've written them down in a way that makes sense to me, the questions tend to go pretty easily and quickly. The same is true in reading comprehension. I tend to spend more time reading the passage than it seems like most people spend. And, that puts me a little bit behind, so to speak, as you might, if you were to look at people taking the test. But then when I get into the questions and the answers themselves go a lot faster because I feel like I really understand it. The same is true in logical reasoning. I spend a lot of time really trying to understand the argument and figuring out what's wrong with it. Tonight, when we do these games, we'll have to see what happens. But if they're like 90% of the games that I see, the setup takes a little time. It's like we're going at it aggressively. We're breaking it down, maybe creating several different diagrams to represent what's happening. But once it's all done, it has really all the answers baked into it. And so then we can go through the questions really quickly. In any case, does the easiest way or the fastest way, I think, for most people to learn is just to try and fail, and then we'll go over the game together and you could see how you might have done it differently. But before we do this first game, does anybody have any like burning questions about logic games? Okay. Well, let's oh yeah, we got some hands. Sorry. Taki, go for it.
Hey, quick
Hey.
question.
Yes.
I noticed one of the games I approached. I noticed I always try to do the if questions first, but
Mm,
in this particular game, there were no if questions at all. And it kind of like threw me off a little bit. I kind of made my way through the game with one of the questions that started with which, but it was a must be true. So I knew for sure what I was dealing with. But how would you approach a game that I know with you guys, it's like you start with the if rules first, but what about
yeah.
those
So I
games
would,
that, you know, we
so yeah, let me clarify one thing. So, um, a long time ago, I started doing if questions first because questions that start with if give us an opportunity to create a diagram, right? That we might be able to use for other questions. So I was doing the questions out of order because of this potential benefit. But and I still think there is some benefit to that. So I will often do if questions first still. That said, the more aggressive we are setting up the game, the less of a need that becomes. And so sometimes I myself just forget and I just go straight through the questions and I don't even do the if questions first. So if you're relying on doing the if questions first, it sounds to me like maybe your setup before you even get into the questions is not complete enough. I mean, that's not always the case, but that's a possibility. Like, I wouldn't look at the doing the if questions first strategy as critical or something that, if you can't do it because none of the questions start with if, all of a sudden everything's going to be very difficult. If that's the case, it's probably a situation where you didn't set up your initial diagrams sufficiently enough. So maybe we want to look at that as opposed to, oh, what do I do if there's no if questions?
thank you.
Um, yeah, Adam, go ahead.
Hi Ben. Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks. Yeah.
So I've been working on the LSAT for a while, but I'm new to the Demon. But so by far, Logic Games is by far my weakest, right? So I'm trying to
Yep.
just, as you and Nathan articulate, just getting a little better day by day is kind of my goal, right? I know
Sure.
you and Nathan will really hone, really stress kind of the key is just to think about it as mastering at least one game every single day. Um, but I didn't really see you guys talk too much about what does mastery look like? Does that just mean getting all the questions right? Does that mean getting them under a certain time? Could you talk a little bit more about what you would define as mastery for the one game?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Um so I would say that someone has mastered a game when they can do it correctly and quickly, right? And quickly is it's hard to say what that exactly is because for some games that may be 5 minutes, for other games that may be 12. You did it in 12 minutes, and that was actually pretty fast compared to what most people took on that game. But if you can do a game and you can set it up in a good way, not sometimes people get all the questions right and they get them right quickly, but only because they're like very fast at speeding through a lot of heavy labor, I guess, right? Like they're like testing each answer choice and they can do that fast. And that's not necessarily the skill I want you to get good at. Oddly enough, if you can actually disprove answers quickly, that's a good skill to have because really what we're trying to develop is several tools in a tool chest, and one of those is your ability to make deductions. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the most effective way to approach 95% of the games. So what does that mean? You do a game, you get a few wrong. Well, that's not good. We got to figure out why you got them wrong. You start getting those questions, you do it again, you get them right, but it takes you 20 minutes. I wouldn't say that you've mastered it yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you do that game again? Probably not. instead, what I would do is I would bookmark one of the questions in that game, and it will show up in your bookmarks tab. I don't know if you've seen that. And you could come back to it, in a week or something like that, or 2 weeks, or just random. Don't like over plan it, right? You just have a game that okay, at one point it took me 20 minutes. You could also just let the demon decide, because the demon will bring back games that you didn't master. It takes a couple weeks, but it will come back, and then you could be like, oh wait, I've seen this game before, but can I nail it, get them all right, and do so quickly? If you do, then the demon won't bring it back.
That makes sense. Well, thank you for taking the time, Ben. That helps a lot.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Fawn.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening, and
Yeah.
as others have said, happy New Year. So my question is, I keep hearing about that there is supposedly like a formula that you can use to figure out LSAT games, and I have gone through games level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and I don't see it. And maybe it's just because math is not my
Yeah.
math is not my jam, but because logic games basically is an equivalent of word math is what I say.
Okay.
But I mean, can you point that out to me? Maybe that would make more
I
sense to me.
don't know what exactly you mean by a formula. I on some level there is a formula, and I'm going to try to show that tonight. It's not so much a formula that you can write down like E equals MC squared. It's more like, but on some level we're trying to, basically take the rules that they give us, first understand them, and then second, figure out, okay, what's a visual way I can represent this rule, and how many different ways can this rule be applied? So for example, if a rule said that R has to be second or third, well, okay, that's a pretty simple rule, and it can only be applied in 2 different ways. So R can be second or R can be third. And so that might be an opportunity to create 2 diagrams, one where R is second and one where R is third. And now with those 2 diagrams, I've actually gotten rid of the need for that rule. That rule has now no longer has to exist because I've baked it into my drawings.
Okay.
So that's somewhat of the formula I'm going to be trying to follow tonight. What are the rules saying? Now that I understand them, how can I represent them in some way that I'll remember them? But more importantly, can I bake them into my drawing so that I don't even have to have the rules written down anymore? I guess it's kind of simple to explain it that way, but the best way to learn it is to see it in practice in a variety of different contexts, and then you can start to see what's similar and then also what's different as you go from game to game.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was going with Power School and Khan Academy and everywhere, and I was like, I don't see a formula, so it just wasn't making sense. So I appreciate you for answering that for me.
Sure, no problem. All right, let me take one more question. Aaron, go for it.
Hi, Ben. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm also a relatively new LSAT Demon subscriber, I guess, and I'm working through the logic games right now, step by step, and I'm finding that I'm able to get 90% of the games on time correctly, but the biggest issue, and the biggest issue that comes with time as well, is the rule substitution games and questions. So I was just wondering if you could walk us through your mental process of what you go through when you take on like one of those rule substitution games.
Yeah. So you're talking about the rule substitution question that comes typically at the end of a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I will tell you briefly what I am thinking about. Maybe this analogy will help, but it's actually severely dated. It's a severely dated analogy, but if you may remember at one point, Saddam Hussein was like in power, right, in Iraq. and we came in and we took them out. So there was a regime change. They kept talking about regime change back then. But in any case, I think of these rule substitution questions as somewhat of a regime change. What they're doing is they're taking a rule out of the game and they're asking you to put a new rule back in. So they're taking out the old dictator and putting in a new dictator. But this new dictator has to impose the exact same requirements on the game that existed before. So sometimes the new dictators are too strict. And it's very easy to see that because you read the answer choice and immediately you're like, wait a sec, R can only go in 4 or 5. Like I know R could also go in 1. So your new rule might accomplish the goal of restricting the game in some way, but it's restricting it too much. So if an answer is too restrictive, it's out. Sometimes the new dictator comes in and is too relaxed, right? Not restrictive enough. And so it might say something like, well, R has to be, greater or a higher number than L. And you're like, well, that's helpful, but that allows R to go anywhere over here. And that is not possible. Like I need it to not go last, for example, and it can with this rule. So you're too lax. I'm going to have to cross you out as well. So my point here is that in some ways, you can predict what the correct answer is, but in other ways, you can also just go through and get rid of answers that are too strong or too weak. And sometimes that's easier to see, like without doing any testing. You're like, whoa, that's too restrictive. I know you couldn't, I know you could do that before. So, and you just need one example to get rid of that.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's go ahead and Abigail or Kevin, if you don't mind dropping in the syllabus into the chat. Let's click on that first game. Let's see what that is actually. Looks like test 74 game 3 rugs. So let's do that game. Don't worry. I've done this game before. I have a vague feeling that it's not one of the easier ones. Oh, that's great. So just give it, don't worry about that. I could be wrong actually. So hopefully my memory is bad, but it doesn't really matter. Just give it your best shot, plan to fail. Failure is the fastest way to figuring out what's wrong with whatever you're doing. And then I will go over the game with you all in about 10 minutes. Okay, so good luck. All right, guys. I'd love to go over this game with you, except for it doesn't look like my camera is working. What the heck? This is really odd. Okay. Sorry, one sec. What? Oh, okay, that worked. I don't know what happened, but in any case, let's see here. I'm looking at the polls really quick. It sounds like 8% of us thought it was easy and fun. 28 said not bad. 32% said it was tough, but got there in the end. And 35% said it was challenging. I guess that's not surprising. I'm seeing that it's a difficulty 4 game. But hey, let's unpack it and figure out what is going on. I just closed all my windows in a panic to figure out what was causing my video not to work. Let me pull this game up again. Okay, cool. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Okay, so one last thing here. All right. Okay, so this game, Test 74 Game 3, it says there are 3 rugs will be woven out of colored thread. All right, I don't know what to make of that, except there's 3 rugs involved. 6 colors of thread are available. We have FOPTWY. So FOPTWY. Just keeping track of those. You guys can all see that clearly. That's good. Okay. Yell at me, by the way, if something doesn't make sense. Exactly 5 of which will be used to weave the rugs. Okay, so that's a little bit interesting. We have 6 colors. We're going to use exactly 5 of them. So I'm gonna put these colors almost certainly into the rugs, right? The colors are going to be used for the rugs, and we have 3 of those, but one of the colors won't be used for the rugs. So it's kind of like I have a color that's going to be out or not used, right? Each color that is used will be used in only one of the rugs. That's a great rule. I'm really glad that that's here, because what that means is that when I put one of these colors into one of the rugs, if I say, hey, forest is used for the first rug, then I don't ever have to worry about forest again, right? It's not going to be used again. Okay, the rugs are either solid, woven in a single color, or multicolored. Okay, the rugs must be woven according to the following rules. All right, before I go into these rules, I'm getting the sense that this is what I would call a grouping game. Not that these names matter, but I'm trying to group these colors into these rugs, right? And the rugs can either have one color or several colors, which is just another way of the LSAT saying these groups can have, and each group must have at least one color or thing. So right now in my mind, there's actually 4 groups in this game. There are the 3 rugs, right? I got to put colors into each of those rugs. And then there's this non-rug, this color that doesn't get used, right? So I have 1, 2, 3. Those are my 3 rugs. And then I have an out group. That's the color that doesn't get used. There's only 1 slot in that out group because there's only 1 color that's not going to be used. The other 5 colors have to come over here. And because I have only 3 groups, some of the groups are going to have more than 1 color, right? Because I do have to use all 5 colors. You guys cool with that so far? Okay. So these groups have to have at least one color, but they could have and will have more than one in some cases. The first rule says in any rug in which white is used, 2 other colors are also used. Okay. What this rule is saying is if I have W, then I have to have 2 more colors. I could write that rule down, and I've certainly done that before. But when I was talking earlier in the class about being aggressive, what I'm doing is I'm looking at this rule and I'm saying, okay, how many different ways can this go down, right? How many different ways can this rule be applied? And right now, I can only think of 2 ways. Either white is in one of these groups, it's in one of these groups, and that group has 2 more colors with it, right? Or white is the color that's not used, and this rule doesn't matter. Because the rule says in any rug in which white is used. So if white isn't used, this rule just doesn't exist. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to create those 2 scenarios. I'm going to say, okay, one scenario, white is in, and it has to have 2 colors with it. Or another scenario, 1, 2, 3, white is out. So I'm just going to, these are my 2 scenarios. Are you guys okay with that? Okay. I don't care whether this group that has white is here, here, or here, because the groups they're similar. There's no distinction between these groups, right? Whether it's the first one, the second one, the third one, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put it in arbitrarily the first group. Okay. In this world, the rule doesn't apply. In this world, the rule has already been applied, so I never have to think about that rule again. Next rule. In any rug in which O is used, peach is also used. Okay, again, I have 2 worlds I have to deal with now, but if O is used, P is used. Let's actually start here. If O is used, P is used, I feel like there's a couple options. One, O goes out, right? And the rule doesn't apply. Another option is O comes in and it goes here, and we have O and P, right? Another option would be O goes in one of these groups and then P comes with it. But I'm actually seeing a problem with that. If O goes in one of these groups and then P comes with it, what's the problem? Does anyone see it? Yes.
I think you ran out of P.
Oh, sorry. Eric, go ahead. I saw you raise your hand. Everybody else jumped in. I couldn't hear you. So
Yeah, no problem, Ben. Thank you. If we do that, then we'll be using more than 5 colors.
yeah, we'll be using more than 5 colors, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already. So that's done in terms of slots. So if OP is going to come in, it's going to have to go here, or it's going to go out. Those are my only 2 options over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put OP in for that scenario. And then 1, 2, 3, O is out. Everything else about this world is still true. If you remember, this world had W in with 2 slots. So those are the only 2 things that can happen with the OP rule over here. Now, I haven't dealt with this yet, but that's all that can happen over here. Is everyone okay with this?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So something on this wording that kind of tripped me up a little bit that I think slowed me down
Yes.
is with the olive and the peach. Can peach be used on its own without olive, or it has to be olive and peach?
No. Peach can be used on its own. This rule is really talking about olive. It's like, hey, if you have olive in a rug, then you better bring peach along with it. It's not really telling us what happens when peach is by itself. And that's going to actually happen here because O is the only one that can go out. So P is going to have to come in, and it will be either with something else or by itself, but it won't be with O.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Now over here, I want to do the same thing. I want to be aggressive and I want to say, okay, if I have O, then I have P. The reality is though, over here, O can't go out because W is already out, right? So that's not an option over in this world. So over here, things are actually a little bit easier. I already know that O has to go in. So I'm going to put O in this group. It doesn't matter which group you put it in, but I'm going to put it in that one. And then I'm going to put P with it. End of story. That's the rule. So I never actually have to think about this rule again because it's been applied here. It's been applied here. It doesn't really matter here, and it's been applied there. Okay. Let's keep going. So then it says F and T are not used together in a rug. All right. Well, I'm looking at this world right here because right now I have 3 worlds, right? Up here, can F and T ever be used together? No. So I actually, a lot of times in the games, people reflexively, and I've done this myself, write down the rules. It's like you see the rule and you write it down. Well, here, you couldn't violate that rule if you tried, right? So you don't actually need to know about it. You're never going to break it. So don't need to worry about it there. Here, I could break that rule. F and T can't come here, which means, let's see. I actually have a couple options here. One is that F or T comes here, and then the other one goes in one of those slots, or F and T both go there, right? Those are my 2 options. I kind of actually like that because if F and T both go there, the game is sort of over, right? Like if F and T go here, then the only thing left is P and Y. So P and Y would have to go here, right? So
P and Y, I don't think P and Y can go together though.
okay, so that's a rule I haven't gotten to yet. If that's true, that's even better news because if P and Y can't go together, I'm going to create this world and then I'm going to end up just getting rid of it. And so our game is going to get simpler and simpler because we won't have to worry about these things.
Hey Ben, can I ask you a quick question about the O, when O is used, P is also used? Do we know that it's only O and P? Like could something else, if O is used and you use P, could you put another color in there? Or is it only olive and peach? Do we know that?
Yeah, we actually do. So it says in any rug in which O is used, peach is also used. Okay. So that's telling me that if I have a rug and it's got olive in it, then I have to use peach. Is it talking about any other colors or anything else about that rug? No. So when there's no discussion of it at all, it's you can do it or not do it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You would need a word like only or something in there to restrict it. Okay, so well, you guys have told me about this other rule, so I'm like tempted not to draw this diagram, but if I were moving quickly through this game, I wouldn't have gotten to that rule yet, and I would just say, okay, well, there's only really 2 options for FT here. One, and I'm going to just draw this out right here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here are my 2 worlds, right? One option is that F and T come up here, right? And if F and T come up here, then PY goes here. The other option is that F or T gets split between these 2. So I have F here and I have T here, and they're going back and forth. I don't know who comes into this group, but I know that one of them comes in and the other one goes out. That's all.
Then F and T can't be together.
Exactly. That's
well, you have that in one of your worlds. F and T. You have WFT. The other one.
No, so this is my group right here. This is my group.
Oh, you're doing it the other.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Ignore
It's
me.
going this way.
Ignore me.
Okay, cool. So maybe I should have labeled these. You can have 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay, so F and T are going back and forth. I don't know which one is where, but at least they're separated. And since they're separated here and they're separated here, I don't ever have to think about that FT rule again. Now up here, I actually have quite a few options because F and T, they could be separated here, or I could have one here and one could come down here, right? And this rule is actually making me think a little bit about this world right here. I could split it on the basis of FT like I did here, but I think it's going to be a little bit easier to split it on the basis of the number of slots, because there's only 2 ways this can go down. Either I have 1, 2, 3 people in this group, right? Or I have 2 people in this group and 2 people in one of these groups. That's the only way it can go. And then I don't have to worry about like, oh, how many people are in, or not people. I always just talk about these things as if they're people, but how many colors are in each rug? I don't have to worry about that anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this world into 1, 2, 3, O, P, W. So everything about these worlds are the same, except this one will have 3 here, and this one will have 2 and 2. Okay, that's the only way this world can be split. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, what's happening here with FT? I know FT can't go together, so they can't both go here, which means one of them has to go in this group and one of them has to go in that group. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, so I'm going to put FT like this, and I'm going to put an arc going back and forth because I don't know if it's F that's in the double or if it's T that's in the double. Okay. Now over here, well, they really, actually, over here, I don't have a problem. Do you guys see why I don't have to worry about the FT rule over here? I'm never going to violate it because F and T can never go together. So I don't have to worry about that. Okay, next rule. P and T are not used together. Okay, P and T can't go together. Never going to happen here. Never going to happen here. It could happen here if T comes down here, then I'd have to watch out for P. So I'm actually going to just write down the rule here for a second. Say, look, P, T can't go together. Never going to be a problem here. It could be a problem here, which means T can't go there, right? And since T can't go there, really T is in one of these slots, and I don't care which one it's in. So I'm just going to put it in the second one right there. Okay, last rule. P and Y are not used together. Okay, again, not going to be a problem here. That's a problem here because I put P and Y together, which is what you all told me. So this is actually exciting news. I'm just going to cross that world out. Before, I was worrying about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 worlds. I don't have to worry about that world anymore. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 worlds. Okay, PY can't go together there. They can't go together here, so I gotta watch out for that. So P and Y really, they need to be separated. The only thing left, actually, I could have figured this out earlier. P and Y are going to be going back and forth there. And if that's the case, if P and Y are going back and forth like that, they're actually never going to go together. Because one could go here and the other one could go there and vice versa, but they're never going to be in this group at the same time. Okay, PY up here, that means Y can't go here. So Y has to go up here. That means F is left. that's it. Y is the only variable left here. Over here, I have F, T, and Y left, but they can really go anywhere. So F, T, Y, they can go wherever they want to go. It doesn't matter. At this point, this world is done. This world is essentially done. This world is almost done, and this world is almost done. So this may feel like a long process, but if you're aggressive about it and like just splitting as soon as you see two options, you can get this done pretty quickly. I think I saw someone else, I don't see my chat right now. I'm going to pull up my chat. I think I saw someone say they did this in 4 worlds. In any case, maybe we have the same worlds, maybe not, but I got 4 worlds here too. So let's see how these questions go. But I guess before I jump into the questions, does anyone have any questions about these worlds? This covers everything. Okay, Yana, go ahead.
Hi. So I had the same thing. And what I always do is I've been reading the whole passage first and then starting my worlds or whatever I'm doing. I see that you didn't do that. I'm assuming it's, for teaching purposes, but is it more, if you weren't like talking and teaching, is it more time consuming to go rule by rule and start drawing things out?
I think there's actually value in reading through all the rules. Sometimes sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, although I should probably be more consistent about reading through that, because if I had seen that rule, I might have, avoided wasting the time of creating.
Right, exactly. Right. Okay. Okay.
But sometimes I also just get like, I see a rule, and before I read any more, I'm like, I know that there's only 2 ways that can go down. I'm just going to draw it, because then I don't even have to think about that rule anymore. It's like I want to take care of it quickly too. So I don't know. I'll have to observe what I do more.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Question. Oh, sorry. Jem, go ahead.
Hi, Ben. So I want to know, because I did this problem and it took me a little bit of time to do, but I realized it's because I made so many worlds. How can, and that's a problem that I feel like that I continuously have. I create so many worlds, and then by the time when I'm doing the answer choices, I just feel overwhelmed by all the different worlds that I have. And oftentimes, like when you look at the worlds, like the worlds will answer the questions for you pretty much if you do your setup properly. But because I have so many worlds, it gets very convoluted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a couple things. One, I don't know, but sometimes people create 2 worlds here because they create a world where F is here and a world where F is there. And I don't see any value in that because it's pretty clear just to do the arc. So maybe you're divvying things up that don't really change the setup much.
Yeah.
I don't
like for F&T, for instance, I rewrote it. I rewrote the world. So I did do things like that. And then how you have towards the bottom where it's WTY, I rewrote the worlds for that. So I did a world where it's W, T, and P, and then I did one where it's like W, Y, and T. So I did all of that, and I got all of the questions right, but it's just the process to get there. I need to speed up my time.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a thought for you. Or statements are a great place to create worlds, right? Like or statements are so it's usually obvious. It's like, okay, either or. So I could create a world where this is happening or a world where this is happening. I think I even gave an example of an either or rule early on in the class. At the same time, I don't create worlds on the basis of or when it doesn't affect other things. Right. So like switching these 2 doesn't affect the placement of any other variables. So it's easier to consolidate that into one world and just leave it be. So when you're splitting worlds on the base, I mean, the fact that you're doing it is a great sign. So you just need to like actually be a little less aggressive in some ways.
Yeah.
And most people have the opposite problem. So when you're looking at splitting, ask yourself, okay, is this going to affect anything in any way other than the variables itself that you're dealing with, like F and T? And if not, then don't worry about it.
Okay, so then what about the one that I mentioned, the WTY and then WF, like when you come across something like that, would you say to do the same sign, that it can be interchangeable? Or
Right. You're talking about this one right here.
yes, that one.
Yeah, so this actually, of these, you definitely don't want to split that one. Of this one, there could be some benefit because where this is placed is affected by this rule right here, right? Like, but you'd only have to create two worlds, one where F is here and one where T is here, because once T gets up here, this rule no longer matters. It only matters when T is down here or when P is down here. So if you split on the basis of FT or you split on the basis of PY, fine, but that's it. You only need to do that one split. So you'd only end up with two of these. If you ended up with four of them, you're just dividing and conquering too much.
Okay, so the long and the short of it is only split. It's better to split when other rules are affected. If no other rules are affected, then then keep it as is.
Yeah, you could think about it as rules, or you could think about it as variables if other variables aren't affected.
If other variables aren't affected.
Yeah, and notice that's why I didn't split this one either. I don't know if did you split this one?
No.
Okay, well that's great.
Actually, no, I just lied to you. I did. I'm looking at my paper.
Okay. So you have a world creation that we need to rein in, and notice that these variables right here, creating multiple variants of them have no impact on the WOP, right? And like you can place these wherever you want, and if F goes here, it still doesn't affect TY. T could be in or out, so I'm just going to leave them as floating. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's jump into these questions. Question 11 says, which one of the following could be the colors of the three rugs? All right, there's two ways to approach this. Because we have four relatively complete worlds, we could look at these answers and decide whether any of these worlds satisfies them. But we could also just take rules and eliminate any answers that violate them. This first question tends to be pretty easy, especially with that approach. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to start with the easiest rule. PY cannot be together. I'm just looking at the last rule. So it looks like answer choice B violates the PY rule. So I'm going to get rid of that. The PT rule is violated. Let's see, is it violated? PT. Nope, it's not violated. FT, is that violated? Yes, that's violated in D. And then I have OP. So if you have O, you have to have P. That's violated in C. That's not violated anywhere else. If you have W, then you have to have two other colors. That's fine in A. That's not fine in E. So that leaves me answer choice A. Okay. So I'm just doing a process of elimination for that first question. Question 12. Someone talked about if questions earlier on. Because my worlds are pretty complete, my sense is I don't need to go look for if questions to create more worlds, right? So I'm actually just going to go through these. I'm not going to worry about the if questions. Question 12, which one of the following must be true? There are no multicolored rugs in which forest is used. Okay. Does it have to be true that forest is never used in multicolored rugs. Well, no, forest could be a multicolored rug here. I don't need to look anywhere else. As long as it could happen, that's wrong. Okay, B, there are no multicolored rugs in which tea is used. Same diagram. Tea could come over here and be in a multicolored rug. So that's wrong. Must be true. Peach is used in one of the rugs. Could peach go out? No, 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 no. Okay, peach could never go out. So since peach can never go out, peach is always in. That's the answer. Let's look at D and E really quickly though. Tea is used in one of the rugs. No, tea could go out. Yellow is used in one of the rugs. No, yellow could go out. So the answer is C. Question 13. If one of the rugs is solid peach, so solid means by itself, which one of the following must be true? Okay, not solid peach, not solid peach, not solid peach. This is the only world in which we could have solid peach. And if it were true, peach would come up here. You guys see that? That's the only place where we could have solid peach. Okay, so in my head, peach is right here. It's up there and Y is down here. Which one of them must be true? One of the rugs is solid forest. That could be true because this is going back and forth here. That could be true, but it doesn't have to be true. One of the rugs is solid turquoise. Again, that could be true, but doesn't have to be true because F and T are going back and forth. C, one of the rugs is solid yellow. No, in fact, yellow is down here. So yellow is in a multicolored rug. D, F and W are used together in a rug. Could be true, but it doesn't have to be true because F and T again are going back and forth. I hope it's E. E says W and Y are used together in a rug. Yes, see, Y had to come down here, right? Because P came up here. And since Y is down here, it's with W, they have to be together. So E is the answer. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Yell at me if you have a question. 14, if there are exactly two solid rugs, then the colors of those two rugs cannot be. All right, if there are two solid rugs, then we are not here. We are here, here, or here. Right? Actually, 3 of our worlds have 2 solid rugs. So could F and P be the 2 solid rugs? I think so. We could put F and P up here like this, and then they would be the 2 solid rugs. So that's not the answer. Because it cannot be, sorry. F and Y. Okay, if we brought F up here, ooh, that's a problem because P and T can't be together. F and Y, no. F and Y, no. That's not even an option. Oh, right here. F and Y could be the 2 solid rugs. So that's not the answer. P and T, no, no. Could P and T be up here and have F and Y down here? Yeah, we could. So that's not the answer. P and Y. Oh, P and Y can't be together here. They're not together here. No, no. So P and Y, they can't be the 2 solid rugs. I'm going to check E though really quick. T and Y. Could I have T and Y? Yeah, right. Why not? Just these 2 right here. Okay, so the answer is D. Questions? All right, let's go to the next one. Question 15. If F and P are used together in a rug, which one of the following could be true? F and P are together. Doesn't happen here. Doesn't happen here. It does happen here, and it does happen here. So F and P are together in a rug. Could it be true that there's exactly 1 solid rug? No, I have 2 solid rugs in both of these worlds. White is not used in any of the rugs. Oh yeah, that could be true right here. White is out. So the answer is B. I'm just going to check the rest though really quick. C, yellow is not used in any of the rugs. No, it has to be used in both of these worlds. T and W are used together in a rug. Let's see. Oh, no, I was going to say they could be together here, but they can't because F and P are right here. So T is going to have to go up there. T is up there. So T and W can't be used together. T and Y are used together in a rug. No. And again, no, because F and P have to be here. That's going to force T and Y up there. So the answer is B. Okay. Last question, question 16. If one of the rugs is solid yellow, then any of the following could be true except. Okay, so which one of the following cannot be true if one of the rugs is solid yellow? Solid yellow, we don't have solid yellow here. We could have solid yellow here, and we could have solid yellow here. So this is the only world, again, that I can't use. So I'm looking at these three. Could be true except. So could A be true? There is exactly one solid color rug. No, that could not be true. We have two solid color rugs, two solid color rugs, two solid color rugs. So this is the one world I can't be in, and that's not possible under this scenario, which means actually A is the answer, which is a lovely gift from LSAT because now I don't have, that makes that question fast. If you want to check the rest, just to be sure, let's take a look. One of the rugs is solid forest. Yes, that could definitely be true. We could have one be solid forest. T is not used in any of the rugs. Yes, T could go out. F and O are used together in a rug. Yes, they are right here. P and Y are used together in a rug. Yeah, P and Y. No, P and W, sorry. P and W could be used together in a rug here, and we could have this be the solid yellow. So those were eliminated. The answer is definitely A, if we didn't think so already. Questions on any of those questions? Fawn, go ahead.
I didn't hear you if you said, but do you ever write the rules at any time? Or do you?
Yeah, I wrote this here, and I sometimes if I'm not sure how to divvy up the game, like if in this game, maybe it's a misleading example because when I read that first rule, it's like, okay, let's get rid of this. There's only two options here. So I immediately just created two worlds. There are definitely games where the first rule, it's like, okay, I don't see any obvious way to split this up into multiple worlds. So I'm just going to go ahead and write down the rule. For example, if the rule said L comes before H, it's like, okay, well, I could write that in so many different ways if I were to draw out multiple diagrams. I'm just going to write L-H to show that L has to come before H.
So, but in the instance of that first rule where it says if any rug in which white is used, two other colors are also used, that is one where you just went ahead and just created that is why you just went ahead and created the diagram, because it would have taken too much time just to create, to draw that out. Am I correct?
Well, you mean to draw a rule for it?
Right.
Well, you could draw a rule. I actually don't think it takes that long to draw a rule. The rule would look like something like this. It would be, if you have W, then you have to have two more things, right? And that's my if this happens, then you got to have these two more things. But this is the kind of rule that screams create worlds. And the reason for that is it meets a couple criteria. One, there are only two options. Either W is in and it has two things with it, or W is out, right? That's one thing. Another thing, which we talked a little bit about earlier, this clearly affects other things, right? When W's in, it's going to implicate two other colors. So creating a world for this scenario makes a lot of sense because now I can put that into place and have that in front of me, and I can start putting things into those slots or not.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. Anyways, any other questions on this game? Yeah, Laura.
Hey, I just have a quick question in regards to how did you figure out in a way right away that you were gonna use the first rule as a pattern of doing these worlds? Like, how do you know it's the one that's limited, basically?
Oh, well, actually, we probably, if we did this game again, and this kind of goes back to, oh shoot, I can't remember who, I don't know who asked this question, but like, how do you know whether you've mastered a game? One way you could try to do this game again and see how well you've mastered it is to try it again, but don't start with this split. Start with the OP rule instead. In other words, it's not so much that these necessarily need to come in any sort of order. It partly happened because it was the first rule and it made a lot of sense to split it, just create worlds on the basis of that rule. But if we had been given a different rule first, if we had been given the OP rule first, I probably would have done the exact same thing. I would have said, oh, okay, well, either O is in and it's got P with it, or O is out, end of story. Let me create those two worlds. And then when I got to the W rule, I would have incorporated it into those pre-existing worlds rather than incorporating the OP rule into the pre-existing worlds that were on the basis of W. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if the order matters.
No, it does. It does. I was just wondering because I do have some struggles in regards to worlds. I usually don't do them, or just go by the if questions first. But I see.
Yeah, what I would do is I would try to be a little more aggressive with rules that seem promising. Now you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to create worlds with rules that you're going to do a couple things. Maybe you might create multiple worlds. You might look at a rule and say, oh, okay, I'm going to split this rule up. And you split it into like 5 worlds. And you're like, oh, shoot, like, I don't know if that was worth it. It might have been, but maybe it wasn't. Or you split it up into 3 worlds and you were actually supposed to split it up into 4. So, you kind of messed it up there. But by being aggressive and trying to do it, you're going to get much better at it once you kind of look at the game after the fact and realize where you made a mistake. But the goal is to try to become sensitive to which rules are beneficial baked into the diagram rather than drawn out separately.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Try and fail. That's the idea. And then you'll fail less over time. Okay, cool. Any other questions about this game? I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, dang. We have 15 minutes to do one game. I don't even know how difficult that game is, but if you guys are cool with it, let's give it a go. I'll give you a little less time. I'll give you 7 minutes. So maybe you won't finish. Don't stress. You can just try to set it up as best you can, and then I'll set it up and we can compare notes. Sound good? Okay, good luck. Alrighty. Sorry to cut you guys off before finishing that game if you're not done yet. Let's give this a whirl. So it says an economics department is assigning 6 teaching assistants, RST, VYZ, to 3 courses: labor, markets, and pricing. All right. It's sounding a lot like a grouping game. I have to put these people into these 3 courses. Each assistant will be assigned to exactly 1 course. Okay, great. And each course will have at least 1 assistant assigned to it. Okay, so right now I'm thinking I got L, M, P, and each course has to have at least 1 assistant, but could have more. The assignment of assistants to courses is subject to the following conditions. First rule: markets must have exactly 2 assistants assigned to it. All right, so I'm gonna have 2, and I'm just gonna put a 2 there. I'm gonna have 2 and no more, right? So this is, I'm gonna have at least 1, but I could have 2, I could have 3 for all I know. It looks like the most I could have in any group is 3. Well, no. Actually, I could have, no, yeah, the most I could have in any group is 3, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could do 2, 2, 2, or I could do 3, 2, 1. You guys cool with that? 2, 2, 2, or 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3. Is it fun to just say a bunch of numbers? If that's not clear what I'm saying, either this game is gonna look like this, or it's gonna look like this, or LMP, and it's gonna be okay. I don't know if that's helpful, but those are the only possibilities for this game. Okay, S and J must be assigned to the same course as each other. All right, well, okay, so S and T have to be together. So that's how I would draw that. We were just talking about worlds. We could create worlds on the basis of ST and do one where ST is here, one where ST is here, and one where ST is here. I've kind of confused things maybe for some of you because I've already created 3 worlds in a sense. So we could create worlds on the basis of these arrangements. In this case, ST could go in 3 places here. It could only go in 2 places here and 2 places here. I'm going to take the advice that one of you gave me in the last game, and I'm going to read through the rest of these rules to see if anything makes more sense. Okay, V and Y cannot be assigned to the same course as each other. Okay, I'm just going to symbolize it like that. And then Y and Z must both be assigned to pricing if either one of them is. All right. That's an ugly rule. The Z and Y must both be assigned to pricing if either one of them is. That means to me that Y and Z are together in pricing, or they're both out of pricing, right? And so those are 2 options. I think I have a strong bias to starting with this for worlds. I don't know what I've done in the past, but ST, I mean, that seems like a good way to start with worlds as well, but I really hate this last rule. So because I hate it, I'm going to start with it so I can get rid of it. Does that make sense? I don't want to think about this YZ being together thing. So I'm going to get rid of all this. This is more just, I guess, for illustration. Here's back at our original setup. We have 2 things in M, and then we have at least 1 in L and at least 1 in P. And my 2 options are YZ is in pricing or it's not. So let's just do this. L, M, P. Okay, let's do Y, is it Z? Okay, yeah, YZ is in pricing. Right, they're together. That's that. Or 1, 2, 3, L, F, P. YZ is not in pricing. In other words, Y and Z are over here somewhere. Okay, I hope this isn't confusing. This is my world divider. What I'm doing here with this is I'm saying YZ have to be over here in L or M. You guys okay with that? As long as Y and Z are over here, I don't have to worry about this rule anymore because either they're together in P or neither of them are in P. Sound good? Okay, now let's go to some of these other rules. I have this ST rule. Actually, because I already dealt with Y, I want to talk about this Y, this VY rule. V and Y can't go together, so I'm just going to note that V can't be here. V has to be going back and forth here. So V is going back and forth in L and M. Okay, over here. Here, I just have to remember that V and Y can't be together. I don't know where V goes though. Okay, now I'm looking at the SJ rule. I think some of you messaged me and said you had split this game on the basis of ST. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now that I have these two worlds, I have to deal with this rule here, and then I have to deal with it here. So I'm going to start here because this looks a little easier. Okay, for this diagram over here, how many places can ST go? Okay, I see a vote for 1. I think the correct answer is actually 2 if I'm looking at this correctly. ST, this slot right here is just saying at least 1. So I could have 2 here. So I could put ST in M or I could put ST in L. Okay, so those are the only 2 options. I can't put ST down here because then we'd have 4 in this group and that's not going to work, right? So I'm going to split this diagram. Okay, in this setup, let me get rid of V for a second. So V is going back and forth, but let's put ST here. ST is here or ST is here. Okay, those are my only 2 options for ST. What do we know? We know that, well, in this case, this game is over because R and V are left. And they have to go in M because M has to have 2. Here, what do I have left? I have V and R. V can't go here. Nothing else can go here. So V has to go there. The R, though, could be here or it could be there. Okay, questions about how I split this world on the basis of ST. Okay, let's keep going. So over here, this one's a little more fluid. Okay, I know that Y and Z have to be over here. I could do ST, ST, ST. Honestly, I think I'm on the fence. I would either just do it because I like doing worlds and then I could start filling this out, or I could leave this world a little fluid and then go into the questions that start with if. I'm going to go ahead and create worlds on the basis of ST. So, but I'm on the fence because I'm going to have to do a little bit of work here. That said, I feel like it's pretty quick. So we have I got my 3 worlds. They look exactly the same as before. Y and Z have to be over on this side. Okay. Either I have ST here, I have ST here, or I have ST here. Now, let's see here. What do we got left? It's a little tricky because Y and Z have to be over here, but I could still fit one more variable here. I could have an R, I could have a V, but I do know that an R or V has to go there. And I have to put something there, and those are the only variables left. Okay. That's actually going to be true here as well. This isn't panning out as lovely as I'd like it to. YZ. Oh, you know what though? V can't go here, and YZ have to go here. So because YZ have to go here, they're not going to fit with ST, right? V can't go here and V can't go there. So V has to go here. Oh, this is not so bad. Okay, great. So V is going to go here. And then the only thing left is R. And R could come here with YZ, or it could come over here with V. So I'm going to put R going back and forth. You guys okay with that? Okay. Last one. Sorry, this is kind of a mess. It's a little nicer when you just have your own paper and you can spread these all out. But I have YZ over here. What do I have left? I have R and V. Because an R or V could go here or could go here, just as long as Y and V, or Y and V don't go together, I don't really care what happens. So unfortunately, I don't think a lot of things have to happen here, unless I'm missing something. So these worlds, unfortunately, are a little empty, but let me make sure I got all the rules. Yeah, M is 2, TY or ST together, VY. Yeah, I got all the rules. So this is it. I'm going to go into the questions at this point. I'm not going to split any further because I don't, although the VY affect each other, like you could have VY or even V over here. Yeah.
I think that I might be wrong, but I think V or Y have to go in M. Not both, but one of them will have to go there. Isn't that true?
That's possibly true.
At least in that world.
Could you do V? Oh yeah, Y has to stay over here. So you could do Y.
Oh, I guess V could go in your with ST.
Yeah, V could go over here. You could have Y here, and then you'd have R. What's left? R
Z.
Z. Yeah. Okay. So maybe not. Okay. Well, anyways, we still have this world. This world's done. This world's pretty complete. This world's pretty complete. So hopefully this will go pretty quickly. Nevertheless, question 13. Which one of the following could be the complete assignment of assistance to pricing? Okay. So could R, Y, Z go to pricing? No. Yes, R, Y, Z. We have Y, Z, and R in pricing. That looks like the answer. We could take a look at these others. STY, that doesn't happen here, 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 here. STY, but we can't get Y over here because Y can't come on this side, right? STYZ, no way, that's 4 things. That's never going to work. TYZ, well, that doesn't work because S has to be with T. And then answer choice E, Y or VYZ. Again, that doesn't happen here, and over here in this world, YZ has to be in L or M. So that's not going to work. So A is the answer. I was actually confident enough with this. I probably would pick A and move on, but it doesn't hurt to check. Anyways, let's go to the next one. Which one following cannot be the complete assignment of assistance to labor? Okay, so who can't both go in labor? Could RV go in labor? No. Yes, it can. So that's out. RZ. No. Yeah, R and Z are here, but Y is also here, so that's not good. RZ. Ooh. If RZ went here, then VY would go here. So that's not going to work. So I can't get RZ into labor by itself anywhere. So that's the answer. Let's really quickly get rid of the rest. C. Could we have ST in labor? Yep, right there. VZ in labor by itself? No. Could we do VZ? I think we could do VZ here, and then we could do RY, so that's no problem. YZ, same thing, YZ, and then VR. So the answer is B for 14. 15, which of the following could be true? Could R and V both be assigned to markets? R and V, yes, they could, right there. Okay, again, to move quickly, I see that, so I'm gonna probably just pick it and move on. But RT are both assigned to markets? No. No, because T is there. No, because ST and then T is there. So that doesn't work. CV is assigned to markets, or sorry, SV. So I don't know where C came from. SV, no. Well, that's never going to work because S and T have to be together. SZ saying to pricing. SZ to pricing. No, Z can't come over here. And we don't have it in any of these, so that's not going to work. VZ are both assigned to pricing. Again, not going to work for any of these because Z is over on this side. And here, I don't see VZ. I have YZ and I have YZ. So the answer is A. I think we kind of saw that right away, but it doesn't hurt to check. 16, if V is assigned to the same course as Z, if V and Z are together, not here, could be here. Yeah, we could have VZ together here, and we could have VZ together here. Which of the following cannot be true? So I'm only in these two worlds. Could R be assigned to labor? Yeah, it could be in this world. So I could have VZ. I could have VZ and then R and Y. So that could be true, and thus A is wrong. Answer choice B, Smith is assigned to labor. Yeah, up in this one. So T is assigned to markets. No. That can't be true in either of these two worlds, so that's got to be the answer. R is assigned to pricing. No, but yes, it could be up here. S is assigned to pricing. Yes, down here. So D and E are wrong because they could be true. All right, question 17. If no other assistant is assigned to the same course as R, so R is by itself, which one of the following must be true? If R is by itself, I'm not in this world. I'm not in this world. I could be in this world. I can't be in this world. Could I be in this world? Yeah, I guess I could be. I could have R, Y, Z, and then V. But anyways, I'm in this world or this world. I'm in either one of these worlds. Which of the following must be true? Oh, what's true about both of these worlds? This is all, R is by itself. Well, R is here or R is there. Let's take a look. T is assigned to labor. No, because although it is true here, it's not true here. V is assigned to labor. That doesn't have to be true. In fact, V could be here. Oh wait, could it be? Yeah, V, Z, and then Y, right? V, Z, Y. Okay. Let's see. Y is assigned to markets. No, again, I could have Y here, V, Z, Y. Z is assigned to markets. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to put Z here because if I pull Z over here, Y and V are gonna come together. And if I pull Z over here, again, actually I can't because R is here by itself. So Z is gonna have to come into this slot with Y. and then V is going to have to come over there. So Z is assigned to markets in both of these worlds. E, Smith is assigned to pricing. Yes, here, but not here. So that doesn't have to be true. The answer is D. Questions about this question, questions about this game?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great question in the chat from Kara. I hope I said her name
Okay.
right. It's talking about the progression of questions as you go through a game. And if like the final 1 or 2 questions, she realizes she goes back and maybe misses something in the diagram or rule. Is there like a correlation there with it getting harder? Or is she just missing a rule or something like that?
Oh, so the question is, do the questions get harder through the game?
Yeah, she's asking more like, do they become more dependent on how well you did setting it up? Or do they just get harder as you keep going?
I can clarify if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I feel like so I do my worlds and then I go through kind of like a breeze through the first couple of questions of any game. And then I think at the end I've got all of them right. And it's 9 times out of 10, I've gotten either the last question or the last 2 wrong. And so I was wondering if maybe is there any type of correlation between as the questions go, the deeper you get, it's dependent on how well you have set up your initial diagrams. So maybe the first one, the first couple of questions you can get away with answering correctly if you haven't correctly diagrammed or if you've missed something, but those last couple of questions, you're never going to get them right unless you've diagrammed properly or, gone through all your rules.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's probably true for the very first question, just because even if you totally mess up your diagram, since a lot of times you're answering it through process of elimination anyway, right? It's not going to, it doesn't depend on your diagrams. So you could have made a mistake with them and then still do well on that one. But I don't think there's any correlation between like the earlier questions in the game and the later questions of the game. I think that the later questions do tend to be harder in part because for every like 4 games, there's a substitution question and that appears to always come last and that tends to be harder.
Right.
Some other historically last questions also tend to have been harder where they actually like not only ask you to substitute a rule, but they'll like get rid of or they'll rewrite a rule. So I didn't see that here, but I'm actually curious if we look at the difficulty level of the questions, they did tend to get harder. And I don't know that that so much has to do with your setup as it does just they've written questions that probably require you, like that last question, it went into these 2 worlds that are kind of empty. And so we had to do a lot of like hold variables in place, right? Hold the fact that R is by itself here. You
right.
could work it out, but it maybe that's what makes that question harder. I don't know, and I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but I don't know that the test writers are like that clued into how people are solving these.
Yeah. Okay. Because on this one, I got the last one wrong. And I realized before you got to it that it's because I hadn't figured that Y or V could go in L and Y or V could go in M. So my answer was initially that Vogel is assigned to labor. So it was B. That's because I didn't, I guess, calculate in or, put in my world that Y could also have been there. So the only possible answer is that Z has to be M. So that's what I was just wondering, since I got everything else right and it all matched my worlds except for that. And I know why I missed it, but I was wondering if maybe that was just a correlation there or not, but
I don't think so. I think it's just getting more confident too in your worlds
Yeah, that's
follow.
definitely something I need work on. So
Cool. Okay. Well, keep up the good work. Glad you're doing worlds. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
It's not about the game specifically. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Can law schools see when you sign up for a test and then cancel it? Not you've taken it and obviously they can see your scores, but if you like sign up for a test and you're like, oh, I'm not ready, I have to cancel.
You're talking about withdrawing, right? Withdrawing.
Withdrawing, sorry.
Absolutely. So no, there's no record of that whatsoever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Hey, I'm really sorry, everyone, that I went so far over. I did want to finish this so you wouldn't be left hanging if it is something that would keep you up at night. Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't care, like whatever. But anyways, thanks for coming. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email help@lsatdemon.com or email me, ben@lsatdemon.com. Thanks for coming. Hopefully it was helpful. So have a good night. I'm happy to hang out. Class is over. It was over like 20 minutes ago, but I'm happy to hang out for a few more minutes if anyone has any other questions. Laura, go ahead.
Hi, it's also related to the LSAT, and thank you for staying around for a little longer. So I'm planning on taking the LSAT in January, and I was wondering how bad is it on canceling the score once taking it? Like, how much weight is it?
Like if you take it and then decide to cancel your score?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I think law schools will give that little to zero weight. So they just don't care at all. But I would if you're planning to take it and then you feel like you're likely to cancel because you're not really ready to take it, I wouldn't take it at all, because you don't want to cancel and then later take it again and then need to cancel or like decide to cancel yet again, right? If you have 2 cancellations on your record, again, I don't think law schools are going to care that much, but it starts to raise questions like, can you come forward and deliver on this test, or do you have to keep like, resetting?
Yeah, I see. I've given it a lot of thought, and so on that pendulum of canceling, like withdrawing my registration there. But thank you for answering that.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. Destiny.
I'm trying to get it turned on. Can you see me?
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, thank you for the class today. It was pretty helpful as far as the logic games and stuff like that. Whenever I did it last night, I went ahead and did the 2 that we did today, and I only missed 2 questions, like one on the first one and one on the second one.
Okay.
And as far as logic games, that's my like strongest section out of the LSAT. And I took my test back in November, but I'm wanting to get about 10 points higher just so I can really like secure my spot in the school that I want to go to.
Sure.
Or like as far as the LSAT goes.
Yeah.
I was wondering, would it benefit me more to try and get my logic games perfect? Like I can usually complete about 3 sections and miss maybe 3 or 4 questions. Would it do me better to try and work on striving towards getting all 4 done so that I can meet that goal for those extra few points?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like games is a section where you can really get it down to -0, -1 on the section. But the only thing I don't want you to do is focus on finishing. Like I think you said, you're like, oh, should I try to get to the 4 games? Well, that should be something that eventually happens, but you really want to focus on getting 100% correct on the ones that you're doing. So tonight you got 1, or last night you got 1 wrong and then 1 wrong again, right? Like get to a point where you're getting 0 wrong on the games, even if it takes you 15 minutes, and then get to a point where you're getting 0 wrong and hopefully doing them in 8 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
And then what you'll see is when you're doing a time section, you'll be like, oh, wow, I got to 3.5 games this time, whereas I usually get to 3. And then one day you'll
get to 4. Don't like just try to get to 4, if you know what I mean.
Okay. That makes sense, so that I don't end up missing more while trying to rush.
Yeah, by rushing and also developing really bad habits, because what you're doing is you're getting subconsciously on some level comfortable with going through questions and getting them wrong. And really you want to get to a point where you're like, I know I feel good about this setup and I feel good about my answers. And that's where you can get, and then you can eventually get there quickly too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Fawn, go ahead.
So I'm reverse of Destiny. I have been really, really working aggressively trying to get my games strength up, but I find that my reasoning and my analysis, my reasoning and my comprehension is stronger. This close to the exam on the 16th, would it be more effective for me to, well, I'm taking the exam on the 16th, I'm sorry. Would it be more effective for me to focus on my strengths and make sure I'm accurate in those and have more accuracy in those than try to keep trying to force my weakness? Does that make sense in my question?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like if you have points on the table that you could be getting in your stronger sections, it might be easier to go after them. That said, a weak section often, and if that section is games, often presents opportunities for you to pick up a lot of points, right? One, you're missing more points if that's your weakest section. And two, there might just be something you're not doing that if you started doing, you may not get perfect, but all of a sudden you might start getting a lot more points. So it might be better not to worry too much about it and rotate through the 3 sections, because then you'll be working on your strengths and your weaknesses as opposed to like hyper focusing on one or the other. It's kind of like diversifying, right, in the market as opposed to just putting your eggs all in one basket. And there's some psychological benefit to that as well, because when you do one section over and over and over again, you could probably study for maybe 2 hours that day, right? But if you do like 3 sections, it might be you still end up only studying 2 hours because it's still a lot, but the time you spend studying is not as mentally draining because it's not the same activity over and over again. So instead of thinking about like what section can I improve the most, maybe just think about like any section that I improve, I can pick up a point and all the points are equal throughout the whole entire test. So it doesn't really matter as long as you're adding a point a little bit every day, you know, to one section than the next.
Yeah, because I also registered, well, I registered for the February test, but then I was like, I'm gonna push it back because that's my birthday month. And I just kind of want to breathe a minute, if that makes sense. And so I pushed the February to March, but I'm gonna sit for 16 for the 16th. And fortunately, the school that I want to apply to, and I'm not trying to go in on this at all, I'm just, speaking, they have a performance-based program. So, I'm reaching as hard as I can to get the highest scores I can, but I'm still just trying not to stress my 48-year-old brain.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, because it's just hard having, when you're older, whereas younger, you're having to you have to, I like to say, deprogram to reprogram how we do things because we're in the workforce and been doing things for so long. Does that make sense of what I'm saying to you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're planning to apply in the fall of 2022 for the fall of 2023, right?
Yeah, I already got my application in. And so they're just waiting for my scores.
I mean, honestly, I would look to apply next year. Because that will free you up. Like you're like under the gun in some ways, right? You're like trying to get your score by January.
That's how I feel. But the dean told me the dean told me to do it this way. So that's why I was just kind of like, okay. But yeah, I feel what you're saying.
Well, this analogy is not totally apt, but it's kind of like asking the car salesman, like, how should we go about this, right? And they're like, well, let's see if we can get your financing as quickly as possible, right? Like you can do it. Let's pull together documents and let's meet next week and we can get this done. That's like, how about I get my cash together and then I'll come back, and that might not be for several months, but I'll be ready and I can pay for the car out, out of pocket instead of like taking out a loan or something, right? So I feel like you're kind of in that position where you're getting advice from someone who might have a conflict of interest. That's all. And so I would just forget about all that. I would focus on getting the best score you can get. You now have all the way until June, and then you can submit your applications early in September. Puts you back a year, but could make a world of difference in terms of your score and the money you get.
Understood. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Luis.
Trying to turn it on. Hi, thank you. So thank you for sticking around. First of all, I just want to thank you. Well, thank the demons, because I came into demons like was really devastated, and I tried a couple of the proctor exams on the other sources. I only get like 100, maximum 138, but now I'm able to get around in the middle of 150s. So I'm quite happy. Like I'm with the improve, like great. And there was like times I only got 128, 29. It's like I must be dumb or something wrong with me. But now I feel
I'm glad you're doing better. That's awesome. That's great.
At least I feel like there's nothing wrong with my brain at this point. So thank you. My first question was answered by someone else that by you from some other questions. I'm also doing the January test. Like it's my first test. I also signed up for the February test because the school I applied accept February test. I'm in Canada. I'm actually graduated from the same school as Francesca. So I'm also going to apply Dell. Anyway, so this Dell only accept the latest exams in the February. So my applications and personal statements are already done. And also I want to thank you guys helped out with my personal statements as well. Greatly appreciate it. Like whole package. Thank you. So I just I planned for the two tests, the January and the February. So I am a little nervous about the January test, but I'm just wondering if you have like any recommendations for the last minutes, for the last 2 weeks of study. And I just feel like, really that. And also I have the same problems with the games. Like if I rush through 4 games, I kind of get like 20 right. And if I only do the first 3, I also get 20 right. So I'm like, either what should I do for before January and what should I do before February?
Well, I mean, it feels like you're kind of in the same situation because your application's already in, you're like trying to get this done, right? Whereas if you had a little more time, when you do the 3 games and you get 100% accuracy, developing the habits that are going to lead to a score where you can get 3.5 games 100% correct, and then eventually 4 games. But it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen most likely by January. It's more likely going to happen by February and then maybe March, right? So given where you're at, I'd much rather you take it in February and March. I don't know what that means for your applications in Canada and the timing of all that. But, if you can let go of that and just focus on your LSAT, then you may have to apply next cycle. But boy, it seems like it would help. At the same time, I know that the situation is a little different there in Canada because the scholarship situation is different. But
I have to apply for this year, unfortunately, because but anyway, so even if you think like by February, just me drill, because what I'm doing right now is that I really just can't not quit my job, but I kind of just took a break from my job. So I've been drill a time session of LR every day, a time session of LG every day, and then review them right after, and then doing a 1 reading comp right before I go to bed. So that's what I've been doing for the last couple weeks, and it's
Wait, so you're
amazing.
doing 3 sections in a day?
Yeah, I just feel like a drill, like a crazy. Even on Christmas Day, I was like, I must be mad.
Yeah,
point.
well, I think it actually might be counterproductive. I mean,
No, you think?
I'm proud of your enthusiasm and your dedication, but I would do at most 2 sections because you're not
Okay.
giving yourself enough time to review and redo these things, right?
Okay.
Like what I'd like to see is I'd like to see you do a section. I'd like you to get, 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20, 20 out of 20 if possible. And then when the section is over, do the remaining questions untimed in the blind review. And then start reviewing the questions that you got wrong. Like that whole process is going to take time. And maybe you do that for 2 sections.
Okay.
But at that point, I would say take a break, do something else, like, go for a walk, whatever. Like, 3 sections in a day plus good review seems near impossible.
Yeah, like I study like 12 hours a day for almost every day. So like I feel like I've burned out already. Like
you cut that way down and your score is going to go up. It's like if someone's at, I go to the gym from 9 to 6. It's like, okay, like your body is gonna not have time to recuperate. Your brain is like, whoa, part of it's just like taking like just new information and trying to endure it.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think just, having a little bit of chat makes me feel better because I know even though I'm aiming for the January test, but it was really my safety net because I like to know how the setup, what does it looks like, and like how the preparation before the February, like my real test. I call the February test is like my real test. So, just chatting about it makes me less nervous already. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
And again, thank Demons for everything.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Eric, I can probably take one more question. I'm sorry, I'll try to go fast. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, Ben, thank you so much. I'll make this short and sweet. My second day in the Demon, I think it's fantastic. And I would recommend it to a whole bunch of people. So thank you first and foremost. One is a question on the interface of the website, and perhaps it's just because I'm new here. When I go to classes and I'm looking at classes in the future, I see that all those classes currently have a lock on it. Now, is that a function of me not being a premium member, or are those already filled up? So I can't get in there because of that.
Are you basic? Is that what you're?
I am so basic.
That sounds
I am
funny
the
when we
most
say
basic of basics.
You're basic, Eric. Okay, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is basic. I think it only has this free class. I'm not even sure.
So it has that, and then it also offers, I think, study groups as well. Is the other thing that allows me to do so. Okay, so that's not a function of it all being filled up. It's just I need to go ahead and upgrade and stop being cheap. Got it. No problem.
Yeah.
Then the last question is, once I take my LSAT, how quickly do I get the score back?
It typically takes 3 weeks. I think the last time I looked at the dates, but I don't know if that's changed. So
they have it posted. If you go to LSAC, and when you go register, it tells you when the latest that your scores will come back. So like January test, your scores should be back like around February. I think it says there. So if you go and you register, it will tell you the latest that your scores will be back. No,
that's true. You don't, and in fact, you don't even have to register. It says on the LSAC site, like the registration deadline and then the score release date down at the bottom.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, no problem, Eric.
Appreciate it.
Lineka, I hope I'm saying your name right. I've seen your hand up for a while. I'll take your question really quick and then.
Okay, I'll just make it short and sweet. Really simple. Logic games is my hardest, section. When I struggle getting more points in. And I noticed that where I suffer the most is when I have to do a bunch of worlds. So I just want to know if you had like any recommendation on how to get better on my worlds besides just doing them over and over.
Okay, so just do them over and over.
Okay.
I would say one thing that could be helpful is when you do a game, do it again, and maybe do it on the basis of different worlds,
and see how the setups or the worlds end up covering the same kind of scenarios, or they should cover the exact same scenarios. They may do it, they may look a little different, but at the end of the day, they're covering the same number of possibilities. And you can start to get an intuitive sense of what's going on with the worlds and when it makes sense to split them and when it doesn't make sense to split them. Another extreme is to try to like kind of split out everything and then start to realize you're like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't so helpful to split these worlds. It didn't yield a lot of information. And so, but you're still getting the practice of dividing and conquering.
Okay. I think that's what it is. I think I don't sometimes split enough. I think I may just start like with too little bit of worlds, because I noticed that when I'm going through like the free classes, I'll have like 2 or 3 worlds and then the instructor has like 8. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, eight sounds like a lot, but it sometimes happens. Hopefully it's more around like 4 or 5, but yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again, everyone. And you really stuck with the class until now. Abigail, Kevin, sorry to keep you guys later than you were, I'm sure, planning, but thanks again and have a good night, everyone.